Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking time to join us for today's webinar. My name is Dan Nagley. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs and also the Executive Director of the UNT Career Center. Let's get started with today's program. We are here to share industry and hiring insights in a variety of fields that UNT alumni are actively pursuing after graduation. We have a variety of guest panelists today, but I wanted to start out by talking about our agenda for today. First up, we're going to have a message from our president, Neil Smatras. Then we'll move into questions from our audience for the panelists. And finally, we will share more about the Get Hired Grads Initiative and its resources. As part of your registration, we will send you all the relevant links after the event, including a link to the webinar recording when available. We hope to have all of this available to you on the gethired.unt.edu website by the first week in April. Now let's get to the message from our president, Neil Smatras.
Hello, I'm Neil Smatras, the president of the University of North Texas. Congratulations, your college journey is nearing the end, and it's almost time to launch your professional career. You may be feeling a mix of emotions about what comes next: stress, relief, nervousness, and excitement, and that's perfectly okay. Your UNT family is here to help you through the Get Hired Grad program. During the weeks leading up to graduation, UNT's Get Hired initiative is offering extra support to help you boost your resume and prepare for your job search. You can develop supplemental skills, have your resume reviewed by our alumni network, get insider tips from industry professionals, and even receive one-on-one help with the job search. These are just a few of the examples of what's available through the Get Hired initiative. We've outlined the 7 steps to career success and have numerous resources posted online to help you best market yourself to prospective employers. Visit gethired.unt.edu to learn about the many ways UNT can help you dazzle employers and land the perfect role.
Thank you, Dr. Smatras, for that message. All right, we have another poll question for you, and we want to know what sentence best describes you at this moment. So take a moment to answer. All right, looks like most have started looking for a job. That's fantastic. There are answers to each one, or each one of those are answered at least once. So, all right. So today, regardless of where you are in your job search process, whether you're just starting, you haven't started yet, or wherever you are, we're hoping to provide you with some career information by asking questions of our panelists for today's event. Now for the reason you joined us today, our panelists. Jeanette, can you please share the next slide of panelists so I may introduce everyone? So on the panel today from UNT, we have Dr. Brian Hirsch, who's the Senior Associate Director in the Ryan College Business Career Resource Center. We also have Janice Lader, a career coach with the Career Center, who serves the College of Merchandising, Hospitality, and Tourism for today's purposes. And then we have Marissa Zarola, who is Principal Lecturer and Merchandising Internship Coordinator in the College of Merchandising, Hospitality, and Tourism. On our next slide, we have our employer partners joining us today. And so I want to introduce them as well. First up, we have Jenna Baxter, who is a market manager with 7-Eleven. And then Stephanie Richardson, a regional talent acquisition manager with Enterprise Holdings. Stephanie is also a Career Center Advisory Board member. Next up is James Guillory, who is president of Hartem Hotels and Housing. And James is a UNT alumnus, so welcome back, James. Next up, Reggie Woolridge is general manager of Marriott International Dallas Westlake. And then Adrian Barbara, who is the regional vice president at Schneider. He is also a Career Center Advisory Board member. And then we have Jason Ballard, IS Executive and General Manager of Infrastructure and Operation Services at Toyota North America. And last but not least, we have Angela Liu, University Relations and Talent Acquisitions Manager in North America at Uniqlo. All right, now's my time to turn it over to Dr. Hope Garcia. She's going to lead the panel and all the questioning. Hope, the panel is all yours.
All right, panel, it's all us now. All right, so I'm going to start off with a pretty basic question, and I am opening this up to any of you, whether you are faculty, employers, advisors, because it's general advice. So all of us have advice because we've seen students or new employees or applicants. And so anyone who wants to go can raise their hand and let me know. But what basic advice do you have for students going through the job search right now? And we know there's lots of stressors and thoughts about that with COVID. Are we coming out of that? Just being a senior or a graduating graduate in general is pretty stressful. So what basic advice do you have for students who are looking for jobs right now? We'll go with Stephanie and then Marissa.
Good morning. My general advice is to keep a positive outlook and mindset because companies are hiring right now. And then of course, be prepared. So preparing a resume that is error-free, that's ready to go, that you can use as your marketing tool, and then utilize the platforms like LinkedIn, Indeed to post your resume so employers can find you, and you can also use those as networking tools. So I think another big thing right now is just making sure that you're very familiar with all the virtual platforms, whether it's Microsoft Teams or Zoom, and make sure that you know ahead of time which platform the employer will use for your interview so that you can conduct a mock interview and prepare properly and ensure that there aren't any glitches or technical difficulties during your interview.
Good morning, everyone. So one of the things that I wanted to share was to keep in mind that you can only control what is under your control. So right now, of course, with the pandemic, there's a lot of worry about, will I find a job? Are jobs available? What's out there? I'm competing with people who have years of experience now because they've lost jobs, but you can only control what's within you and what you can do in terms of your resume. And as Stephanie mentioned, things like becoming familiar with the virtual networking options that are out there. So really focus on things like your resume. Focus on developing some of your skills and continuing to do that. Focus on becoming comfortable with this whole new kind of Zoom life and virtual networking through, as was mentioned, LinkedIn. Attending events like this and being active in them so that when you are sitting in a very similar setting, maybe for an interview, you're comfortable with it. And that's kind of my best advice here because it's very easy to feel overwhelmed with all the questions that are still looming. So it's best to just kind of focus on what you can control and work on those areas.
Okay, and then we'll go to Jason, followed by Jenna, and then Reggie.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Similar to what's been shared, that when I think about it, I think of it on two spectrums. One, be aggressive, but also be patient. Be aggressive in the fact that, we are, still in the era of a pandemic. We are still dealing with virtual workforce. And as what was shared, have to be comfortable with the various tools and ways of communicating differently than sitting and doing something face to face. But be aggressive in the fact that there are jobs becoming available, even within Toyota, coming out of 2020 where we had a lot of jobs frozen, now these jobs are becoming available. And so if you're checking the websites for these positions, if you're checking LinkedIn, being aggressive, finding companies that have matching, principles and behaviors and cultures that you really think resonates with you, I think you should apply. So don't be bashful to apply to many positions where that culture fit seems strong. So be aggressive in that sense, and then put yourself out there on LinkedIn, connect with people. I would expect some of you maybe to connect with panelists after today to talk about what could I do, what jobs are available within your own company. That's a start. And then the patient piece is just that, as was described, I mean, you're probably not going to get a bite maybe on the first job, but, it depends on a lot of varying situations. But just be patient with the process and trust that these jobs are available to you. And that, if you've got the skills and the resume to back it up, you're very likely to land something in the near term. So be aggressive and patient is what I would share.
Over to Jenna and then Reggie.
Good morning. Thank you. Similar to what everyone has said already, really want to mimic be confident in your competence. You are completing a degree and graduating from a great university that you have great experience to pull on. So be confident in that, but also don't be afraid to ask for help. Similar to you that are here today, you're looking to continue to develop and figure out kind of what that next step is for you. But there are so many people out there that are willing to help give you feedback on resume, applications, interview skills. And so utilize that within your network, within friends at school, or within your faculty. I think that's something that's very important, that there are a lot of people out there looking to help you succeed. And you just need to make sure you're asking those questions and asking them to help.
Reggie, what can you add for us?
Good morning, everyone. Just a couple of things I want to add is whatever jobs that you are applying for, be sure that you really want that particular job. We all need employment, but sometimes I feel that I've come across individuals that have obtained a job, but didn't really want to work in that particular industry. So be prepared, do your homework on the particular industry that you're going into or job you're applying for, and then be ready to take that and accept that job. Again, the interviewee will know within minutes if you're really interested in that particular job, and that's part of the interview process. So some of the things that have already been mentioned, show up, be ready, let them know you really want that particular position, and then go for it.
Great. And then one more. I want to just go. Angela, did you want to close this out there? And if Dr. Kim Williams,
Sure.
if you want to add something to this before we go to the next question, that's good too. So Angela.
Sure. So I was starting to smile, Reggie, when you were talking, because it's very similar to what I was going to say. Know the job that you are applying to. Don't be aggressive, like Jason said. Definitely put your resume out there, put yourself out there. But don't apply to a job that you don't ultimately want. Make sure that you understand what you are applying to. And if you have any questions, if the title seems appealing or the company seems appealing, but maybe you don't have the right skill set or enough experience to go for that job, reach out to someone on LinkedIn, make a network, build a really strong social network professionally, of people and peers that you want to engage and network with. Reach out to someone that is currently in that position, understand what the day-to-day is like. Is this something that you have the perseverance to get through to take that next step within your career? And I will say LinkedIn until the day I die. Make sure that you are building a strong network. You would be so surprised. People will find you. It's not always about the applications that you're putting out, but it's also about, reaching out and, again, asking for help. So that's all I wanted to share.
And just to piggyback off of Reggie and Angela, good morning, everybody. I'm Kim Williams. I'm the chair of Hospitality and Tourism Management at UNT. But I really appreciated what Reggie said, because I wanted to use myself as an example. With a master's degree, I worked in a housekeeping department of a hotel. So consider opportunities that you would not typically consider. So do your homework, absolutely, to make sure that that's a good fit for you. But I took that opportunity because I wanted to get my foot in the door with the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. And I wanted to learn from one of the best companies in the world. So don't be afraid to think that there's positions. I see 7-Eleven is here. I see Enterprise. Go after those companies and seek them out and see what opportunities they have. Because sometimes we overlook positions because we may think that they're not where we are in our career with a master's degree or with an undergraduate degree. Don't think that way. Do your research, consider places that you would not have typically considered. And then, as everybody else is saying, go on LinkedIn and make those connections through LinkedIn, and be mindful of your presence on your social media platforms. That is very, very, very important, but be mindful of the way you project yourself, because that's the way that you get opportunities.
Thanks for that. And I want to just touch base on this word that most of you mentioned, and it's networking. So if I've started my network, but I'm not sure if I'm spot on with where I've started, or maybe I have no idea what you mean when you say network. I hear this word, but I don't know how to walk out of my house and go find my network. So in small ideas or details, descriptions, like how does somebody build a network, find it, reach out to people, I think also students might feel like that might be weird if I message a stranger and they might think that I'm strange and try, right? Like, what are those actual tips for finding a network? What is par for the course and reaching out to people? What could that possibly look like? So a couple of you might have some thoughts there. Brian, Dr. Hirsch, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think that networking really at its heart is building relationships. And most of you guys already know how to do that, but maybe you haven't done it with fellow professionals. But professionals in fields that you're interested in build networks all the time. So when you reach out to them, say through LinkedIn or whatever, it's not that unusual that they would get a request for a connection. And as long as it's done in a professional way, where you can make sure that they understand what it is that you're approaching them about, is kind of the way to start off. And try to find somebody you have something in common with. So the first thing I would say is a UNT alumnus, and there's over 200,000 of those in LinkedIn. And we also have our in-house mentoring platform called Mean Green Mentors, and you can talk to anybody in the Career Center about that, and we can help you get started with that as well.
And Marissa.
So my answer is going to come from my perspective as an instructor. So I teach in the Department of Merchandising, and you don't have to wait to be a junior or senior to start networking. And networking goes beyond people in the industry. So as your instructor, as your professors, I would say that you can start networking with us. So definitely make a connection with your instructors, reach out to them, stop by during office hours, whether those are live office hours or office hours during Zoom. Be engaged in the classroom setting. And again, whether that's in an actual classroom or in the Zoom setting, be engaged, answer the questions, ask questions as well. So when I think about, from my perspective, there are certain things that you can do so that we can get to know each other and we can start that relationship building, as Brian mentioned, which is you can stop by during office hours and let's just talk. Let's just get to know each other. Tell me a little bit about you. Where are you from, your hometown? Why did you decide to, pursue this major? Where do you think you'd like to be eventually sometime? Take part in class discussions, answer questions, especially right now with us having most of our classes on Zoom. One of the things that helps me now is that I see names constantly, names to faces. And so I'm really starting to learn students' names and learning students on a different level, which is one advantage to Zoom, and I'm liking that. So definitely use your instructors as a bridge, because now in my case, I'm a faculty member, I teach classes, and I'm also the internship coordinator for our department. So I have a lot of contacts, and a lot of times they'll reach out to me and say, who do you know that can fill this specific role? Here's what I'm looking for. Who do you know? And I'm going to know the students that I've gotten to talk to, that have sat in front of me, that have engaged in the classroom setting. So don't forget that we are also a bridge to help you network now and into the future.
So you're telling me I can use my office hours for more than just checking on my test. I can start.
Absolutely. Just come by, stop by during office hours and say hello.
Great. Reggie, what can you add for us?
Yes, I'd just like to add, please utilize your family and friends. You have a host of professionals within your immediate network. Please utilize them. It gives you an opportunity to really practice, get familiar with business professionals prior to launching out on social networks like LinkedIn, where you directly connect with executives and directors and professionals so that you're prepared. And then the other piece is, when you do make that connection, please try to think about sending a little note as to why you want to connect versus a blind connection invite. Because many times, many of us, will just sort of hit the little X because there's no reason, rhyme, why I should connect with that person. Or I may send them a note and say, please let me know why you would like to connect with me. So just be prepared when you do reach out to connect with someone and be very specific.
Okay, I like the way that you all are breaking this down. It seems I can reach out to my faculty, my family and friends. So this is an easy start. And then introduce, why do I want to connect? Makes that stranger connection a little easier. And Jason, want to add anything to end us with this question?
Yeah, I'm loving this because I'm learning a lot too from this. So hopefully the students are as well. But I would just add a couple of things. One, it's whatever. I loved how Brian explained it. It is just people interacting with people, building relationships. But be authentic and be your true self, I think, is most important, right? Don't try to be somebody you're not as you're trying to build your network. And then the second piece that I would say is intentionality. You need to think about this. I mean, even as a working professional, I still have ticklers in my calendar to reach out and connect with people. So networking is not something you're just going to do as a graduate trying to find a job. This is a life skill that you're going to use throughout. And that networking is something you're going to continue to do for years and years on after. So I think if you got to get comfortable with the process, use the information that's being shared here because it's going to be extremely valuable. I can just reflect on when I've interacted with folks graduating from school or interning or co-oping at Toyota. It's those that when we've been in a meeting together and just from that meeting, they drop me an email or drop me a note to say, I love the interaction. I'd love to be able to get to know you more, grab a coffee in the hallway or get 15 minutes of your time. Those are the folks that stand out and above everybody else to me because they took that extra initiative. So I just wanted to add that.
Thanks for that, Jason, and everyone who answered that extra networking question that I threw in there. So I want to move on to skills, knowing that these students are coming out with skills from their classroom and then also those personal interaction just skills that are going to be used every day on the job. So what do you think each of you might have as your top 3 skills that you think are really important to survive or make it or do great on the job where you work specifically or in general? So top 3 skills, and maybe how do they reflect that on a resume or an interview? Because they might have those, but it might also be hard to tell that they have those. So Dr. Williams, can we start with you?
I had my answers until you added another piece, which was how to communicate that on a resume. You tricked me.
Smart, guys. Fill in each other's gaps as you want. You're a beautiful panel with lots of.
I know everybody's awesome, so that's great. One of the first things that you were posing that question is how to effectively communicate. And I feel that we often struggle with how to talk to people, how to make eye contact, how to listen. So I think that that's extremely important in a way to communicate that. If you've taken 6 hours of classes in management and HR and classes that have focused on those particular skills, then demonstrate that on your resume as some of the skills that you have, particularly if the job announcement is saying that they're looking for someone who effectively communicates, then make sure there's a match there and a connection. Effective communication, one of the other one that I see for our industry is being able to resolve conflicts or handling a guest complaint, how to effectively do that. And there's a method to the madness, right? And sometimes I've been taught one of the most effective things you can do is tell a guest, I'm sorry. Authentic, sincere, I'm sorry. Very simple, 2 words. So learning how to do that, again, we teach that in almost every class that we offer in hospitality and tourism. So you can add that to the resume, again, highlighting that. And then the last one I would say is definitely, I was going back to what Mr. Rolla said, in that I view the university as a safe way to gain skills, to practice before you go out into industry. Come in and talk to us, talk to our alumni, because they're there to help you. And we all wrap our arms around you to give you the support you need, so that if you contact anybody that's on here, you're a professional when you go out. But don't be afraid to reach out to us, because I'm here to help you. Like we say, a mentor walks alongside of you and an advocate walks ahead of you. So use us as a mentor to help you, but then going that extra step by letting me get to know you, to know that you show up to class on time, that you submit your assignments on time, that you're a president in my student group and I get to see your leadership skills. Now I can be an advocate to help you in that career search process.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to go to Jenna and then Stephanie. More after that too.
Thank you. So really 3 of the most valuable skills, specifically at 7-Eleven, but I think really across the board in any industry, any role. The two are going to go together very well, but organization and time management. I think not only physically being organized, utilizing a calendar, always being timely for things, but also that mental organization to be able to communicate your thoughts and get your point across in an effective way. And then, of course, the biggest part that we've touched on a lot is just relationship building skills. Do you have those interpersonal skills to communicate with people, to understand them, to empathize with them, and build those relationships as you're interacting with people? A lot of times in an interview, people just want to look across the table and see, is this someone that I would want to work at my company? Someone that I would want to be interacting with every day? So being very authentic with who you are, but understanding that building that trust and those relationships are going to be key, which results in your interpersonal skills as well.
Stephanie?
Yes. So I'm going to piggyback a little bit of what folks have already been talking about, but I think having that strong leadership ability is going to be key. And oftentimes, students will say, but Steph, I haven't had a management position. And I say, that's okay. You've been in a student organization, you've taken the leadership role in a classroom presentation. So being able to communicate those things effectively in the interview and sharing, don't downplay this experience that you do have, that you've been able to obtain on campus. I think that's huge to demonstrate that leadership ability. And then also with enterprise specifically, customer service is our way of life. So the ability, again, to piggyback, build relationships, genuine, authentic relationships with customers and clients and accounts, and being able to really, know what it looks like to go above and beyond and think outside of the box and problem solve. I think Dr. Williams touched on problem solving, thinking critically. It's huge. There are so many things that are changing and evolving, and we're having to pivot and adjust and adapt. So right now, it's even more crucial than ever before to be able to think outside of the box, get outside of your comfort zone, make a decision, take initiative. So those are some of the key things that come to mind when I think about, what we're looking for in future candidates, especially being a company who promotes from within, looking for future leaders of the organization. Those are some of the skills that we're looking for.
Okay, we'll go over to Adrian and then followed by Angela.
Awesome. So there's definitely going to be carryover, I imagine, with all of us. I'll touch on the organization again. I would probably even call it /prioritization. When it comes to prioritization, like, why did I take this job? What are my financial goals? What are my career goals? How do I keep those kind of in the forefront of what I'm trying to achieve? And then organizationally, I'll just kind of make it a little bit broader. Some of the tools that we use in business, I think a lot of you are going to have experience with some of them, but maybe not all of the functionalities that we use in different businesses. I can just give an example of just, hey, how do I use my calendar effectively? How do I look at someone else's calendar effectively? How often should I read email? Things like that. Those are skills that matter in terms of making good use of your time. One of the ones that I don't think I've heard yet is collaboration, and kind of understanding how to work on a team, especially in this world that's probably going to involve more virtual engagement with teammates and leaders, and maybe even just yourself being virtual, knowing that you can't just isolate and work in that space, but know how to work with other people to kind of get resources or new process coaching and things like that. And then the last one, and I don't think I heard this either, but problem solving. And I think it kind of ties into the other piece where, we really need people that are dynamic thinkers and kind of work to solve problems on their own and bring somewhat of an 80% product to someone instead of just bringing a whole problem. So I think that's an important skill. And if you were trying to translate that stuff on a resume, as a student, I know UNT, a lot of you guys work in, have second jobs, and there's a lot of project work and things like that you do at school that you can put those examples on a resume of like, here's examples of how I applied these skills. So I think those are three that just, if I was on my high horse, I'm constantly kind of coaching that every day.
Adrian, you didn't warn the students to get out their like fastest pencil writing hand ever, because that was a whole list of really, really great stuff. And you got a whole bunch of nods from the panel going, yes, please know how to manage also my time and schedule, because somehow people triple book me all the time. And look at the calendar. Marissa, do you want to add anything to that? And, oh, sorry, we're going to go to Angela, and then Marissa wants to add something too. So.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm going to take this in a very different direction that I don't think I've heard any of the panelists mention just yet, and that is focusing on the resume. Your resume, you want to think of this as a marketing tool for yourself. Every line, every character is valuable space on your resume. So it's super old school to have, your full address listed on the resume. We only need your contact information, your phone number, your email address, and your LinkedIn profile. And as far as the resume itself goes, this was an industry trick or tip that I'm going to share with you guys. Look at the job description. Look at the job that you are applying to. Pull out the keywords and phrases that align with your personal experience. You don't want to be disingenuous, but you want to show the company and where you're applying to that you are the right fit for them. So focusing on the resume, I know it can be debatable. Do we look at the resume? Do we look at the experience more? Is it about the interview itself? You definitely need to have great energy in the interview. I know I heard it earlier, we're looking at you. Is this someone I can see myself spending 40 hours a week, working alongside? That's definitely a big component. But as far as the resume itself goes, some companies out there only use an applicant tracking system. Us at Uniqlo, we're super old school. I am the applicant tracking system. So I'm reading every resume individually, but I'm looking for those keywords. And, a great best practice is as soon as you get a job or as soon as you think you're going to apply to a job, take that job description and try to mirror it onto your resume. You don't want to pull a copy and paste. We're not writing a term paper. We're not copying and pasting off Wikipedia, but we want to make it as genuine as possible. So if it says led a team of 20 and, was able to collaborate efficiently with multiple departments, then highlight that, list that as it relates to your personal on-campus experience. And if you have off-site campus experience as it relates to the professional experience, then include that as well.
Okay, and Marissa, the last person to add to our skills list.
So I have the opportunity to work with a lot of employers. We meet, we spend time on the phone, email, etc. One of the things that I've noticed them saying more and more is that they're looking for people who have strong emotional intelligence. And that is something that is coming up more and more. And I think it might have been accelerated because of the pandemic. And how do you respond to challenges? It involves emotional intelligence, means lots of different things, but it's a sense of self-awareness, self-management. So can you make a decision? Are you decisive? When there's a challenge, when there's a problem, can you problem solve? Do you jump in? Can you make a decision? Are you resilient? These are the kind of skills that employers are looking for today. It's a very challenging environment, and they want to see that there is someone who can rise to that challenge and do so confidently, and maybe lead a team into making, how are we going to fix this, or how are we going to address this? And it does involve working with others as well. But that's something that I've been hearing a lot of lately. So I might challenge you to really think about, where do I stand in terms of emotional intelligence? Do I have good self-awareness? Do I exhibit myself as someone who has initiative, and I make the effort to go out and answer a question or resolve a problem or lead the team? And so I wanted to bring that one up just as something that I hadn't heard here today, but that I've received a lot of feedback from employers that they're looking for.
Okay. Let's assume that some of our students might make mistakes when they apply to jobs. So we're going on the, let's just jump past the, yeah, we're going to make some mistakes. I've made them. Everyone here has made them, but and we're going to keep a quick list of answers. So get ready to raise your hand and tell me that you want to answer this question. But what's the one thing, or maybe the two things, or maybe it's tiny and maybe it's big, but our panelists telling our students, I see this mistake a lot and it ends up in the no pile. So how do our students know before they make that mistake that you don't really like that mistake when it's made when someone's trying to apply to your company? So Dr. Williams, you want to start for us?
Yes. As soon as you said it, it came right to my head. Please proofread your resume. If I see an error, sometimes I'll see the first line in your objective where it has a typo. I always let 5 people look at my resume so I can have 5 different sets of eyes proofing it for me. There's no one universal way to prepare a resume or to present a resume. The only thing I usually tell students is to create a PDF. So depending on what software someone's using, that is not changing the format of your resume. But other than that, please get someone to proof it, not just yourself, get another set of eyes on it. Because if I see, I used to hire for the Ritz-Carlton in the housekeeping department, and if I saw a typo, that was it. Because to me, it means that you're not eager to get this job, that you're sloppy, you're unprepared. So I think that's one of the best things that you could do. Make sure you proofread your resume.
Great. We'll go to Reggie and then Stephanie.
Show up on time, maybe a little early. If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And then dress for success. Many times, many of the applicants show up unprepared for the interview. So show up, on time and then dress for success. Thank you.
Stephanie?
I think something that's difficult for a candidate to overcome is when the career objective that's listed on the resume doesn't align with the position that they're applying to. Oftentimes I'll see even specific companies listed on the objective that are not my company. So when I have the first initial conversation and they are selling me on why they want to work for Enterprise, and I bring up, okay, well, I see your resume, this is what the career objective says, it makes it very difficult for them to kind of come back from that. I feel like I'm pretty lenient and I try to just kind of dig deep and have those conversations to figure out, hey, does it really align? And maybe they just put the wrong one by accident, but that's something to pay very close attention to. Make sure that your career objective, if you're going to list it on the resume, it aligns with the specific position that you are applying to.
Seen that mistake lots of times myself. Okay, so Angela and Adrian.
Yeah. So do your research. Don't just do your research on the position that you're applying to, but also do your research on the company. Have solid answers as to why you want to work for this organization. It only goes so far to say, I like your clothes, or I like your mission statement, your values align with mine. We want to know the why behind that. Give us a meaty, substantial answer as to why you want to work for us. And then also, in addition to that, like I said, not just doing the research on the company. We don't want to know, do you know our history? Can you recite it back to us? But having genuine reasons as to, why you want to be employed with us and how they align with your ultimate career goals.
And then Adrian.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that one as one of mine, but I love that. So I'll use some different ones. Be authentic. We're going to spend a lot of time trying to ask you follow-up questions and really kind of get to the crux of, who you are, why you want the job, and how do we kind of assess how effective you'll be in that role. So be authentic, because it's a good way to really get a measure of, are you a fit for us? And you probably get a good sense as well as, are we a fit for you? And then in conjunction with that, I would also say come prepared with questions and good questions, not, how much am I going to get paid? What's it like? What's next? I think it's important for you to really treat it like a date or kind of that intro and really understanding, are we a match? So I would say the research piece ties into that, being authentic ties into that, and asking those questions. One shows us that you're inquisitive, you're curious, and that you wanted to really be thoughtful and if we were a match for you. So I think those are always good signs of who you're interviewing, the questions that are asked.
And let's hop over to Jason. What's a no-no? Don't make this mistake.
Well, I think we've hit the top 95%. And Adrian, I was going to mention to ask questions as well. What I would lead with is don't use 50 adjectives to describe why you're the person for this role. I see that a lot in resumes where it's just like too many adjectives. One tip I would give maybe is spend $20, buy Strength Finders 2.0 book and take the quiz that'll tell you your top 5 strengths, and really relay those strengths on your resume and convey that in your stories that you tell that fits into the position you're applying for.
Okay, and I'm going to try to get to one more question, but Dan and Angela, did you have something quick to add to that? Dan?
Just really quickly wanted to add, listen to the interviewer. So if they're asking you a specific question and you answer a question that you think they asked, that's automatically in the no pile. So if I say, hi, how's your day going today? And you jump right into your 30-second pitch, you weren't listening to the question that I asked you. And that happens so often. So just listen, make sure that you have your ears open to the conversation.
And I just wanted to let you know we have time for one more question.
Perfect. Okay, so my last question, maybe just a few people can answer this, but given that there's a range of people that are on this call from our panelists in different industries and types of businesses, and this is kind of a blend from what students have asked in the chat, and also what I wanted to ask you guys anyway is, how do you know that your career that you chose is right for you? And then it goes to what a student asked is like, where did you guys start? So what was your first job? Because this is equivalent to what they're looking for. So when I just graduated college, I actually started here, but that allowed me to get here. So I think maybe speaking on some expectations of what that first job is going to look like and what it can evolve to, and does it necessarily have to be where I want to be in the long run, or how do I use that or springboard it or fall in love with the place that I found anyway? So anybody want to add to that? Adrian, do you want to start with that?
I don't know that there's a really quick way to answer that, but I think, the biggest things for me personally were, coming out of college and early in my professional life, I really had a real good understanding of who I was and some of the things that I didn't want and some of my must-haves in terms of career path and what that looked like. And so when I've been with this company for 15 years. And when I started working for the company, we were a match culturally, and a lot of my leaders were engaged with me to really understand my strengths and weaknesses. And we were in an ongoing discussion about what's the right career path for me. I enjoy leading. I enjoy teams. I played football in college. I played sports all my life. I wanted to be in that type of capacity and on that trajectory. And we've been engaged in that type of conversation throughout my career. I think that's a really core component of, having a fruitful career, is understanding what you want, communicating that, and having a partner in kind of development along that path.
Great. And then we'll go to Reggie and James to close us out, to hand it back.
Well, I could say, thank you. I can say that whatever you choose to do, just have fun. If you're having fun, it makes it so easy to do whatever it is that you're going to end up doing. And then you may get a particular position within a company, but know that that company has many disciplines within that company. And at the end of the day, as you grow with that company, it's all about leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership, and practice your leadership skills, because that will give you the opportunity to move into the next position, discipline, or the next role. And I would assume that everyone is aspiring to be a director or the C-suite or whatever it is you're striving for. But that's all about leadership beyond the particular discipline that you end up working in.
Thank you, Reggie. Okay, no pressure, James. You're the finale.
Well, thank you all. You know, I can relate to that question about have I chosen the right degree when it's all over with? Well, I'll take it back. Well, have I chosen the right degree when it's all over with, and the career path that I'm starting out in? I grew up in an entrepreneurial family my entire life, so I knew I wanted to go into business for myself. You can say I just learned over time what business I did not want to be in. So I really would tell you, because the journey should be one that you should take on and be patient and enjoy, to really step out there, and even after college is over with, and really do the research and find out what all the options are, and getting to know people and introduce yourself to people and network with people that are doing something that you think you might enjoy doing, a business you might like to be in, a position, a job you might like to be in. So I would not be discouraged that I don't know exactly what it is that I firmly want to do when I step out after graduation. I really just think it really is about a good attitude, a good personality, and being ready to just learn, find out who it is that's doing what you might like to do, find out more about how they got to where they're at, and then chart your own course. So that's what I would add to that. Don't be concerned about if you're just not sure exactly where this is about to take you, where you'd like to go with it.
Thanks so much, James. Great advice. Dan, our wonderful panelists are now going to hand it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Hope, and thank you, panelists. What a tremendous bit of information that we got from that. I really appreciate all the advice that was given. Before we let you go, we have a few things left to wrap up. And one thing is we need to do one last poll. And the last poll is asking about how you get your career information. So please respond to that question with one of the following. All right, so the top one is job platforms, and closely followed by LinkedIn. So you're probably in some of the best places to find those opportunities. Thank you for sharing that. Now I just want to move on to make some important announcements. And the first one is the university has created the gethired.unt.edu website to help pull together some key resources that you will need to find a job quickly, all in one place. So make sure you're utilizing the gethired.unt.edu website. On there, you can also find resume review options. That can be found under the showcase portion of the website. When you drop your resume in there, an employer or a UNT faculty or staff member will review it and send it back to you with suggestions on how to improve it. So definitely take advantage of that. As some of the panelists mentioned, the more eyes you have on it, the more likely it is you're not going to have those spelling mistakes or grammatical mistakes, but it's going to best represent you. So utilize that tool for sure. And then finally, I want to mention the Career Center website. I'd be remiss if I didn't at least mention that, careercenter.unt.edu. There we have a number of additional career resources and upcoming events, as well as you can get a link to Handshake, which currently has over 2,000 job opportunities posted that you can apply to right now. So if you haven't been in there, get in there and start applying for the jobs that are on Handshake as well. One last item, we would like your feedback on today's program. So please fill out the survey that you're receiving with your thoughts on today's program. And with that, I want to thank all of our wonderful panelists and Dr. Garcia again for an extremely informative discussion. I also want to thank the students who took the time today to attend today's program. You're doing the right things by attending this and getting out there and looking for a job. We hope that this discussion has been helpful to you. And if we can be any more help in your job search, please reach out to the Career Center. But best of luck to each of you the remainder of the semester, and go Mean Green.